Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning. Welcome to this morning service. Happy Father's Day, and we have Parents' Day in May, and so we'll just call this another Parents' Day for anyone who is father, mother, parental figure, grandparent, anyone who's just raising you in some kind of way. We can think about them today. We'll begin today's service with opening meditation. If you please join me in Gassho. The Sutra of the Treasure Name states, the Nembutsu of Amida's primal vow is not our practice. It is not our good. It is simply keeping the name of the Buddha. It is the name that is good, the name that is the practice. When we speak of practice, we mean doing good. The primal vow is clearly the Buddha's promise. When we have understood this, we see that the vow is not our good, nor is it our practice. Hence, we speak of other power. The name fulfilled in the primal vow is the direct cause of our birth. In other words, it is our Father. The radiant light of great compassion is the indirect cause of our birth. It is our Mother. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. We'll continue with the recitation of the three treasures. Fortunate is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Rare is it to encounter the teachings of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not seek the truth of the Dharma in this life, in what life shall we find it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken within us our highest aspiration. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the Dharma and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriad of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful teaching. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. We'll continue with sutra chanting of Juninai. Keishu tenin shokugyo Amida sen ryozoku son Zai mime annako Muryo bushi shuinyo Konjiki shinjo nyosen no Shamata gyo nyozobu Ryomoku jonyaku shonenge Koga chorai mirason Menzen enjo nyomangatsu Iko yunyo sennichi gatsu Shonyo tenku kushira Koga chorai mirason Kannon chorai kanchuju Shuju meso hoshogon Nobuku gero makelman
子が将来未来尊無微無垢交渉上習得経血女国少佐に役得自在子が将来未来尊実法妙門菩薩衆無料小魔上三段一生修上願力中子が将来未来尊根大保険地上権前言少女明大座大い座上女仙の子が将来未来尊実法将来勝負し権限人図死安楽戦後尊厳上苦行子が将来未来尊小無常無我と薬女水月伝養老異種説法無名字子が将来未来尊非尊無説無悪名薬無女人悪道不主任死神教依尊子が将来未来尊非尊無尿勉強無小衆悪知識往生不体死亡来子が将来未来尊画説非尊苦毒寺修善無縁了解水小逆前言小乗者衛生宗上小意根南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム願にしく道君平等正祭道法大心往生
We'll now have our opening gatha, When We See the Golden Sun, performed by Ellie. we'll now have the recitation of the golden chain. Golden chain. I am a link in Amita's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amita's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, now I will give the Dharma message. So I've been going through our new service book, the Kyosho, right? The beginning, well, really just one part of it, the teaching. And so today I'm going to try to pull everything together to make, hopefully, this make a little more sense. So I'll read it one more time. Attaining the entrusting heart, awakening to the compassion of Amida Tathagata, Buddha, through the working of the primal vow, we shall walk the path of life, reciting Amida's name, Nembutsu. At the end of life, we'll be born in the Pure Land and attain Buddhahood, returning at once to this delusional world to guide people to awakening. So, let's see, 2 Sundays ago, I was talking about ice cream and how we all have this wish within ourselves to be happy, or at least to want ice cream. But we have this wish within each of us about this feeling of wanting to be happy. Then last week, I was talking about awakening, and this awakening that happens when we truly look at ourselves and realize how we are these imperfect beings, that we have these selfish tendencies, and yet we still are directed this amazing amount of compassion from people and things around us. So today I'll try to wrap all of those up by explaining, to the best of my ability, this attaining the entrusting heart. So that's awakening to the compassion of Amida Tathagata through the working of the primal vow. So we'll start first with this entrusting heart. This entrusting heart, through my understanding, is the difference between someone who has had awakening and who has not. So when you don't have it, you have one kind of heart, and afterwards you have a different kind of heart. There's a term, this kind of turning of heart, which I really like, that's in the writings of Shinran. But essentially, your heart changes once you come to this realization. And what your heart changes to is this, like, primal vow. I wanted to use an example from the animal kingdom. So there are these animals called spotted hyenas. So I guess within hyenas, there's different kinds of hyenas. So there's these spotted hyenas. And they were used in an experiment to see the kind of teamwork that they had. And they were put in a scenario that was also used on chimpanzees. So supposedly, chimpanzees are the closest animals to humans, right? They have the same kind of cognitive abilities as far as thinking goes. And hyenas supposedly are lower. They don't have the same abilities, and they're also obviously a different species. But as hyenas, they look, kind of like dogs. They are pack animals, so they have this pack mentality. And when they had to do this task that was based on teamwork, they actually succeeded much more effectively and very quickly than the chimpanzees, which was a surprise, I think, to the researchers and probably to most people in trying to understand that, well, the chimpanzees are supposedly smarter. They should be the ones to figure out the task first. However, there is something just innate in the hyenas, this kind of pack animals, and so they're the researchers' thinking was that because they had to learn how to coexist and cooperate in order to survive, it was just built into them to try to help one another, to work together. Whereas chimpanzees, as they were able to survive on their own because of their intelligence, they didn't have those same kind of tendencies. So I think this is a really good example, as far as my understanding, what this idea of primal is, where there's this deep wish within each of us that we get in our own way. We have this intelligence, we have this smart, like great brains, these human brains that are amazing brains. But it gets in the way of this primal vow, this primal wish for us to work together, for us to cooperate and be there and trust one another. Obviously I'm not talking about anyone listening to this right now. I'm sure you're all very humble. I too am extraordinarily humble. So this applies to other people. However, if we do look at ourselves and we realize that we have this pride, this selfish nature, this is before realizing, awakening to Amida Buddha. So Amida Buddha is our central object of worship. And while the Shakyamuni Buddha, the Buddha who lived 2,500 years ago, was an actual person, Amida Buddha is the personification of infinite wisdom and compassion. So Amida Buddha can look like that, but Amida Buddha can also look like anything else, anything that is compassionate, that is wise, that is in our lives. It could be our parents, it could be our grandparents, it could be our teachers, it could be our pet, it could be our dog or cat, it could be even a tree or a rock. Any of those things can give us some kind of lesson, some kind of understanding of ourselves. And to truly understand or to hear that teaching, we have to take this next step. So last week I was talking about understanding how we are selfish and foolish, and everything around us is trying to make us happy. However, this next step is really the heart of Buddhism, and it's breaking down this disconnection, this separation, this me versus them or anyone else, me versus you. Once we break that down, that is the true understanding, and when we really awaken to wisdom and compassion. So this might be a little bit confusing maybe, right? When we think about, of course, there's a me and there's other people. I'm not a chair, I'm not incense, I'm not this computer, I'm not any of these things. I am my own thing, and I'm separate from them. I have my own thoughts, I have my own life, everything is different. But when we really truly look at ourselves and we recognize that our life being seen through our eyes is one way, and it's also seen through others' eyes, right? So we look at ourselves and we recognize that, yeah, I think my life is important, but my parents also think that my life is important. My grandparents think my life is important. So there's all these things that think that are going towards myself and thinking that my life is important. In the same way, my sister, right? My parents feel the same way about my sister. My grandparents feel the same way about my sister. And this goes for everyone else, right? That they realize that their own life is important, that other people realize that their life is important. And this extends also to other things. When we pass by, perhaps, a flower stand or something, we see all the different flowers in there, and they're maybe bunched up into bouquets. We see them all as like flowers, right? Maybe some are a little more pretty than others, or maybe have a little bit more life than the others, but they're just like a bunch of flowers. However, if we look at the flowers in the same way that we look at ourselves, we recognize that each and every one of their lives is also important. Every single one had their own life, had their own dreams, had their own ambitions to, be like the best flower that they could be. And when we recognize that, this is the true wisdom, when we put ourselves in their place. And the flower almost puts itself in our place, and we become one. So we break down that barrier of me versus you, of myself versus the flower. We recognize that we are not even just equals, but we're the same because we both have life, and our life is important. There's no separation at all between the one and the two. They are the same. So this is kind of a tricky maybe thing to wrap your head around, but this is what Buddhism is constantly trying to push us to do, to break down our own barriers to understanding the wish of Amida Buddha. So now going back to this infinite wisdom and compassion, where this all comes together is that Amida Buddha's wish is for all beings to be happy. And if we all have within ourselves this wish to be happy, and there's no separation between myself and others, then everything has a wish to be happy. And not just for themselves, but for all, because we are all the same, that we're all connected. If we all have this wish, if we all have this connection, then of course, spontaneously, we would want the best for everything around us. It doesn't matter who or what they are, what they look like, if they're living or not. If we're all the same and we all want happiness, then of course we'd want that for everything around us. Okay, we'll step back a little bit because that's kind of a really deep and hard thing to understand, which is fine. And we spend essentially our entire lives trying to work towards that. But once we do understand that, or we think we understand that, what kind of life are we living, right? So we work our way up to this awakening. We have the wish, we understand it, we want that. Then what do? And in our teaching, it says that we walk the path of life reciting Amida's name, or the Nembutsu. And we've said the Nembutsu a lot today already, right? Namo Amida Butsu, which is, it's called the name. It's the name of Amida Buddha. It's also called the primal vow. It's called taking refuge in Amida Buddha. It has a lot of different names, but it's very important that we have this Namo Amida Butsu. And why is it important that we say that? Because it is a gift. It was a gift given to us by Amida Buddha. And I'll try to illustrate this through a metaphor. So in my time in Japan, I was given this lovely tumbler. I guess it's a tumbler, right? So it's got Kyoto on it, because that's where I was living at the time. It was given to me by a friend from Japan. And he gave it to me, and I obviously took it back to America, and I use it quite often when I drink hot beverages, if I need to go, get something on the go, and I'll bring it with me. But every time I use it, every time I drink out of it, I think of my friend and all the good times we had, all the kindness he was showing me around Japan, and taking me to his house and everything. And he was really really kind to me. So when I drink out of my cup, when I use my cup, when I fill it up, I could say that I'm doing it, right? That I'm the one that makes the tea, that I'm the one that puts it in, I'm the one that ends up spilling it all over my shirt. It's always me that's doing it. However, because he had given me that gift, I'm always thinking of my friend. And so in the same way, Namo Amida Butsu is a gift that was given to us to think upon Amida Buddha, to think upon infinite wisdom and compassion, to think upon our connection to everyone else, to think upon the infinite wisdom and compassion that surrounds us at all times. It was this important gift given to us. And so when we say it, it isn't so much that we say it for us, that we say it that I'm doing it. We say it because we want to generate some kind of good in our life. We're saying it to hear Amida Buddha, to be reminded of Amida Buddha's wish of the primal vow. And that's why it's important that we say Namo Amida Butsu. And it's not just saying it as we obviously have to remember it, but we also live it. So when we talk about walking the path of life, reciting Amida's name, it's not that we're just always walking around saying Namo Amida Butsu, which you can do. There's nothing wrong with that. And I would really should be encouraging you to do that. But when you walk through the life reciting Amida Buddha's name, reciting the Nembutsu, in my understanding and my appreciation, it's working to try to make that a reality, to working to make that wish of all beings be happy a reality. That we're not just saying Namo Amida Butsu and just wishing for people to be happy, but we're actually doing something. There is this action within us that we're going out into our community, going to our friends, going to people we don't know, going to the temple, whatever it is that we can do in our lives to make all beings happy. That would be walking a life of Nembutsu, walking the path of the Nembutsu through our lives. So I hope this really kind of ties everything together with, the ice cream and the waking up and then, the hyenas and then finally the gift. I know I like using metaphors and it makes it easier for me to understand. Hopefully it doesn't all get jumbled up into a mess and you don't remember anything. You just remember it's like, yeah, this guy is talking about really weird stuff. But ultimately, for us to remember this teaching, attaining the entrusting heart, awakening to the compassion of Amida Tathagata through the working of the primal vow, we shall walk the path of life, reciting Amida's name or the Nembutsu. And really to sum it all up, really, is just to be kind to one another, to really try to cooperate and work together for happiness for all beings. There's all this doctrine and stuff that can help us to get to that, to try to understand why we should do it, to figure out the reasons in the Buddha teaching to get to that point. But really, at the end of the day, for us, as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, that is the heart of the teaching. To say the Nembutsu is to be kind and to create happiness for all beings. Okay, if you could all please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Our closing gatha will be Farewell, performed by Koichi.
Dharma school is over for another day. Let us gather around the shrine, bow our heads and say, thank you, teacher, for your help. Thank you, everyone. Buddha's love will keep us safe till our work is done. So we'll meet again next week. Won't you take good care? Let us try to do what's right, always kind and fair. We shall spread the happiness faith in Buddha brings. Now it's time to say goodbye till we meet again. Namo Amida Butsu, sing this fine refrain. Namo Amida Butsu, sunny day or rain. Namo Amida Butsu, strong in faith remain. Namo Amida Butsu, till we meet again.
Man, I just really like Koichi's energy. When he sings and stuff and you hear his voice, it really it makes me feel like, yeah, I will see you next week. I will do what's kind and fair. If you could please join me in Gassho for closing meditation. We must seek to stand at the point of intersection of the vertical axis of self-responsibility and the horizontal axis of the universal principle of the Dharma. If we do so, our lives will become focused on seeing things with the eyes of wisdom and awakening. Buddhism teaches us that a life of awakening is the ideal way to live as a person of the world and a member of the human race. From Sensei Takamaro Shigaraki, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, and now we'll have announcements.